We've touched on AI, and you've probably basically put it through all of your kōrero, and I think that's something that's really at the forefront of your thinking, and thinking about those principles and overlaying our values into AI is something that I hadn't thought of before. And when you just spoke about it, then it was really a really nice way to I guess, yeah, as you say, front forward Māori thinking into this space, and I think that idea around Māoris is fantastic. When you're developing these new products, so if it's an extension of AI or something else or something new, how do we ensure that we can express our whakaaro Māori or Māori thinking or Mātauranga Māori or Māori knowledge systems? How are these considered perhaps in those spaces, and are there enough Māori in the space to offer those deeply enriching and important considerations?
Yeah, I guess I'll address the second question first. Is there's not enough, we need way more whānau in the space. And if I look at Auckland alone in terms of the amount of Māori who are in the AI space specifically, I could probably count on two hands, who's actually properly in the space. So therefore it's an opportunity as well, a massive opportunity. When we think about the changing environment for employment, the fact that redundancies are happening more and more, the fact that industries are going to be wiped out through climate change, there's going to be this industry that's going to need a whole lot more people. And if we can do it in the right way and skill up our rangatahi, our pakeke, even our kaumātua and kuia, then they can pick up some of these opportunities. So we need a lot more Māori, and we need them to help create culturally responsive AI to truly engage in a way that that helps companies like Microsoft and Google and Facebook and all these companies using AI to ensure that they are engaging, to ensure that the perspectives are brought to the fore. All of these important things that it's not the fact that they're not being considered, it's the fact that there's just not much of an option there. So we need to be intentional. I'm saying on both sides. Microsoft needs to be intentional, but so does Māori. We need to be thinking right now about our rangatahi coming through. Can we start pushing them, not pushing them, but persuading them to start moving into these spaces and picking up the opportunities that are going to be there. It's needed, ihoa, definitely. And
Do you have a persuasive idea of how we can get more Māori rangatahi into this space?
Well, I think it's incumbent of our whānau who are in tech, who are already are starting to show it can be done. That's a first part, show it can be done. And once we start seeing our aunties, our uncles, our cousins in this space, then it starts building up trust, because a lack of representation always results in a lack of trust. So that's the first step. The second step is you've got to start building some pathways. And those pathways can be different types of internships. They can be spaces where we actually go to them, to places where they feel comfortable, like on a marae, which is happening more and more. Or it can be purposeful approaches in schools and kura. And I think the last one is the barriers that exist, that like the ones that we see and the ones that we don't see. The societal barriers, we're just really trying to move those out, and whether it's bias within interviews, whether it's the cultural tax that exists for our whānau when they come into spaces like this or others, corporate environments. How do we start working on those now, so when those rangatahi do come in, they come into culturally safe spaces as well.
When you were talking with some of the other Indigenous groups around the world within your rōpū, are there any common themes around climate that they have issues with, or that are perhaps something that is weighing on their minds that we have similar here with some of I guess the weather patterns and changing climate we have.
Yeah.
Are other Indigenous communities doing trying to input some of their knowledge and systems into how they respond?
Yeah. As you know, the wildfires are something that's happening across the world, and we just had at our this month is Global Indigenous Heritage Month for Microsoft, so we have a bunch of events and stuff, and we had a speaker who was from Australia, and he talked about some of the Indigenous practices of how they manage their wildfires, and how these practices, which are still they are knowledge that's taonga tuku iho, knowledge that's been handed down through their whānau, is actually there to help them stop wildfires if they just allow for some of these practices to operate. And then we heard from some whānau in the US who have some similar practices as well. So it's really fascinating hearing about like, even though there was a very small chance that the Australian Indigenous got over there often, they had similar whakaaro, and they had similar Indigenous worldviews around that kaupapa. So we're hearing a lot around water, we're hearing a lot about land management, and certainly the taiao in terms of the weather patterns is a real concern as well. But that concept for we're listening to a Cherokee leader. He was talking about the fact that we didn't live in one space. We very rarely made a whare that just stayed there forever. We were a little bit nomadic in terms of how we moved around with the taiao, and that really struck me in terms of humans have kind of evolved to just stay in one place, but that's not necessarily how Indigenous worldviews looked at living. They were much more sort of in harmony with our environment.
Kia ora. Final question around, I guess, a tip for Māori businesses out there as they embark on their journey of incorporating Mātauranga and Te Ao Māori into their tech or into their business practices and things like that. Yep. From your perspective, is there anything that you could offer, or any tip you could give to any of those businesses and people out there?
Yeah, man. Stay tūturu, tech is just a platform. It's just an enabler. It's not the answer. And I know tech gets sort of, I guess it can be a bit sexy and it can be a bit cool, but all it really is the enabler behind your actions. So just stay real tūturu, real clear around your purpose and how you serve your whānau, your hapu, your iwi, and then the tech will be just in the background to help do that. That's probably the first one. And then the other one is I still believe in that superpower piece. There's amazing kaupapa out there that help to collectivise, help us come together. That kotahitanga, that whanaungatanga, that's real. That stuff makes a difference. And if we are willing to lean into that, we can create massive opportunities. I've seen it. I've seen Māori small businesses thrive just through the networks alone of how we come together to support them. And that is also non-Māori, so using that superpower on non-Māori to create these benefits for your business too.
Oh, ngā mihi. E tino mihi ana ki a koe e hoa i tō whakaaro nui mai. I tā tāua kōrero i tēnei rangi nei. Ka nui te mihi ki a koe. Kia ora.
Ai, me koe hoki e hoa. Ngā mihi ki a koutou.